Hello, and a very warm welcome. It is good that you're here, for this is a place made for quiet rest, and I thank you for choosing to spend your time in this sanctuary. The story that follows is intended as a gentle companion, a soft murmuring to help your thoughts settle and to guide you toward a place of gentle contentment and easy sleep. Should this tale bring you comfort, a simple like or a subscription is always appreciated, and a kind comment is a lovely thing to find in the morning. Tonight, we will be visiting the Isle of Murmuring Tides, a place where the world's hurry cannot reach. Prepare to walk along paths of crushed seashell to listen to the gentle hum of happy memories that have settled in the meadows, and to watch as the very ground glows with a soft, stored warmth. Here an artist learns not to see but to listen, and in doing so, finds the shape of pure tranquility. Chapter 1. The Arrival at Stillwater Cove. It is a kindness, one of the world's quietest and most profound blessings, to feel the gentle rocking of a boat as it finds its way toward a peaceful shore. The little vessel carrying Lorien moved with a slow and steady purpose, its wooden hull whispering to the water that held it. The sound was a continuous, soft shushing, a tender conversation between the tide and the well-loved timber, and it seemed to wash away the lingering hum of the mainland he had left behind. Above, the sky was a beautiful deepening shade of apricot, a soft, warm color that seemed to bleed into the very air, making it feel thick with calm and the scent of the approaching evening. A single, content-looking seabird with feathers the color of soft chalk circled overhead, its wings making barely a whisper against the serene air. As the boat nudged the small wooden dock, it did so with a gentle bump, a sound as soft as a book being closed for the night. Lorien stepped out, his boots making a low, solid sound on the weathered planks, a sound that seemed to immediately belong to the immense quiet of the place. He felt the stillness settle upon him, not as an absence of noise, but as a presence in itself, a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate up from the very foundations of the isle. He took a slow breath, and the air that filled his lungs tasted of clean salt and something else, something sweet and faintly earthy, like damp soil after a gentle rain. He felt a loosening in his shoulders he had not known was there, a quiet unfurling, as if he himself were a fern coming to rest in the cool of the evening. He found the path easily, for it was the only one. It was made of countless tiny pale seashells crushed over many peaceful years into a soft, yielding surface that crunched with a gentle melodic sound under his feet. The path wound through low rolling hills covered in a thick carpet of fragrant ground cover, its tiny leaves a muted silvery green in the fading light. He reached down and brushed his fingertips across the surface, feeling the surprising softness, like fine wool, and releasing a fresh, sweet scent that reminded him of chamomile and warm honey. All around him, the great broadleaf trees sighed in a breeze so languid it was more a breath than a wind, their leaves rustling with a sound like soft paper being turned in a quiet library. The cottage was waiting for him, nestled in a gentle curve of the hill as if it had grown there. It was small and round, with walls of smooth, pale clay and a roof of thick, dark thatch that looked wonderfully soft, like a sleeping animal's fur. A thin curl of pale gray smoke rose from the chimney, a gentle signal of welcome that dissolved into the apricot sky without a trace of hurry. There were no sharp angles to the building, every line and curve seemingly designed to soothe the eye. A single lantern, its casing the color of a dull copper coin, hung by the door, and its wick burned with a low, steady flame that cast a pool of warm, buttery light onto the path. He pushed open the heavy wooden door, which swung inward on its hinges without a single squeak, opening into a simple single room. The warmth from within reached out and enveloped him at once, a dry, comforting heat that felt like a soft blanket being draped over his shoulders. A fire was crackling in a rounded clay hearth, the flames a gentle orange and yellow, and their light danced softly on the smooth wooden floor. The sound of the fire was a quiet, happy popping and snapping, a deeply reassuring sound that spoke of safety and rest. Lorien stood for a long moment just inside the doorway, allowing the profound sense of peace to soak into his very bones, feeling as though he had not simply arrived at a place, but had come home. The air inside was filled with a comforting tapestry of scents. The most prominent was the clean, slightly sharp smell of the burning wood, a perfume of pure warmth. Beneath that, he could detect the faint herbal fragrance of dried lavender, which he soon saw was tied in small bunches and hung from the low wooden beams of the ceiling. And woven through it all was the ever-present gentle tang of the sea, a reminder of the calm water that cradled this entire peaceful world. It was a combination of scents that spoke of simple comforts, of clean things, and of a deep connection to the quiet nature that thrived just beyond the cottage door. Lorien moved further into the room, his footsteps soft on the polished wood. A simple bed with a thick, quilted covering stood against one wall, looking wonderfully inviting. A sturdy wooden table and a single, comfortable-looking chair were placed near the hearth, waiting for a quiet meal or a moment of reflection. He ran a hand over the surface of the table, feeling the incredible smoothness of the wood, its grain worn down by years of gentle use, into something that felt almost alive and warm to the touch. He noticed a small earthenware pitcher on the table, filled with fresh water, a single pale blue wildflower floating on its surface. He felt the last of his travels fall away from him, a weight he hadn't noticed he was carrying until it was gone. His breathing, which had been shallow, now deepened, and he let out a long, slow sigh that seemed to empty him of everything but the present, gentle moment. He walked to the single small window and looked out. The apricot light had deepened into a soft, dusky violet, and the first few stars were beginning to appear, shining with a soft, steady light, not a cold twinkle. The world outside was settling into its own kind of sleep, and Lorien knew with a certainty that was as calming as the crackling fire that he would sleep very deeply here too. Chapter 2. The First Tracing. The morning arrived, not with a sudden burst of light, but with a slow, gentle seeping of pearlescent gray into the deep violet of the night. Lorien awoke feeling as though he had been held by a profound quiet, his sleep deep and dreamless. The air in the cottage was cool and still, carrying the faint, pleasant aroma of the fire's embers and the lingering scent of lavender. He moved with a slow, unhurried grace that the aisle seemed to inspire, his limbs feeling light and rested. The wooden floor felt smooth and cool beneath his bare feet, a sensation that was both grounding and refreshing as he prepared for his day's gentle work. After a simple meal of bread and a sweet pale cheese he found waiting for him, he gathered his tools. These were not the complicated implements of a hurried artist, but simple things that felt good in the hand. His scrolls were of a thick, creamy vellum that made a soft, papery rustle as he unrolled a length of it. His charcoal was not a harsh black stick, but was made from softly burned willow branches, which left a line of deep, velvety gray that could be smudged into the gentlest of shadows. He tucked them into a soft leather satchel that smelled faintly of beeswax and old paper, its texture worn and comfortable against his side. He set out for the Whispering Meadow, a place Nora had mentioned in a small note she had left with the bread. The path of crushed seashells led him inland, where the air grew warmer and lost its salty tang, becoming thick with the scent of sun-warmed grasses and the rich, dark smell of fertile earth. The meadow, when he came to it, was a wide, open space of gently waving grasses that were the color of pale honey. In its center stood a single great tree, its branches spreading wide like open arms, its leaves a deep and restful green. The gentle sighing of the wind through its leaves was the only sound, a constant lulling whisper that gave the meadow its name. Lorien found a place at the base of the great tree, the bark a wonderfully complex texture of ridges and furrows against his back. He did not unroll his vellum at once. Instead, he simply sat, allowing the peace of the meadow to envelop him. He closed his eyes and listened, not just with his ears, but with his whole being. He felt the gentle warmth of the morning sun as it filtered through the leaves, dappling his skin with a soft, pleasant heat. He felt the gentle weight of the air, still and heavy with contentment. And then, beneath the whisper of the leaves, he began to perceive it, a low, melodic hum that seemed to emanate from the earth itself. It was the echo he had come to find. It felt warm, like the memory of sunlight, and it pulsed with a slow, joyful rhythm. His senses followed the hum to a small cluster of fallow boughs, their smooth, grayish-white bark almost glowing in the soft light. The echo seemed strongest there, a beautiful, swirling feeling of pure, uncomplicated happiness. Lorien knew with a gentle certainty that he was sensing a memory of children who had played here on a long-ago summer afternoon, their laughter and delight having soaked into the very wood of the branches and the soil beneath them. With slow, deliberate movements, he unrolled his vellum, the crackling sound seeming loud in the deep quiet. He picked up a stick of willow charcoal, its texture light and dry between his fingers. He did not look at the fallow boughs as he began to draw. His gaze was turned inward, focused entirely on the feeling, the shape of the sound that filled him. His hand began to move across the page, the charcoal leaving a soft, deep gray mark that seemed to whisper onto the vellum. He was not drawing trees or grass. He was drawing the echo itself. The lines he made were not straight or defined, but were long, swirling, and graceful. They rose and fell with the joyful rhythm of the hum, thickening where the feeling was strongest and fading to a near transparent shadow where it grew faint. His hand moved with an effortless grace, his breathing slow and even, his entire being poured into the simple meditative act of translation. The gray of the charcoal on the creamy vellum was a perfect visual representation of the gentle, happy memory, a captured moment of warmth and sound given a quiet, permanent form. When he finally lifted the charcoal, the scroll was covered in a beautiful abstract pattern. It was a map, not of a place, but of a feeling. It showed the flow of joy, the resonance of laughter, the deep, warm pulse of a happy moment that had become part of the world. He looked at it, feeling a quiet satisfaction that was completely free of pride. He had listened and he had recorded what he had heard. He carefully rolled the vellum, the soft, papery sound of fitting into his work, and the scent of the willow charcoal, faintly smoky and sweet, hung in the warm air around him. Chapter 3. The Library of Tides. In the quiet afternoon that followed, Lorien felt a gentle pull toward the shore, a soft curiosity guiding his steps back toward the calming shush of the sea. The sun was warm on his back, its light feeling like a benevolent presence, and the air carried the clean, invigorating scent of the salt-laced breeze. He followed a different path this time, one that led him down towards a secluded cove where the seashell shore gave way to smooth, dark sand that felt wonderfully cool and yielding beneath the soles of his boots. The tide was low, revealing a part of the shoreline that was usually hidden beneath the gentle waves. It was there he saw the entrance to the sea cave. It was not a dark or forbidding opening, but one that seemed to invite him in. Long, broad ribbons of sea kelp, the color of a pale, dusky jade, draped over the opening like a curtain. As he drew closer, he saw that the kelp was glowing with a soft inner light, a pearlescent shimmer that pulsed with a slow, steady rhythm, like a sleeping heart. The light it cast was gentle and diffuse, turning the damp air around the entrance into a luminous, welcoming mist. He brushed a hand against one of the ribbons, its texture surprisingly smooth and cool, like silk. Stepping through the glowing curtain, Lorien entered a space of profound and resonant silence. The air inside was much cooler and felt thick and still, carrying the clean, ancient scent of cool, damp earth and the faintest trace of brine. The light from the kelp at the entrance was enough to illuminate the cave's interior, its soft glow reflecting off the damp walls and revealing a remarkable sight. The cave was not jagged or rough, but its walls were carved by millennia of gentle tides into a series of perfectly smooth, rounded hollows, like a great natural honeycomb. Each of these hollows, he saw, held a single object, a treasure left behind by the patient sea. In one there was a piece of wood, its edges so smoothed by the water that it had no splinters, its surface feeling like polished skin to the touch. In another, a spiral shell sat perfectly preserved, its intricate chambers holding the faint, echoing sound of the ocean's whisper. A piece of sea glass, worn to a soft, frosted texture, lay in a third hollow, its pale blue color seeming to hold the memory of 1,000 calm, sunny days. It was a library of quiet things, a collection of forgotten stories told not in words, but in shapes and textures. Lorien felt the echoes here immediately. They were different from the one in the meadow, not a single joyful memory, but a chorus of quiet, contemplative ones. The collective hum was deeper here, a multi-layered and gentle lullaby that seemed to fill the very air he was breathing. He reached out and let his fingers trace the surface of the smoothed piece of seawood. As his skin made contact, he felt a distinct echo bloom in his senses, a feeling of a deep, weary contentment and the gentle warmth of a dawning sun. He knew he was feeling a sailor's quiet sigh from long ago, a moment of profound peace after a long journey. He moved slowly from one hollow to the next, gently touching each object and listening to its quiet story. The frosted sea glass held an echo of a child's simple wonder at finding something beautiful on the shore. The spiral shell hummed with the slow, eternal patience of the tides. Each touch was a connection, a moment of shared tranquility across time. He felt his own breathing slow down to match the peaceful, gentle rhythm of the cave's collective hum. His thoughts, which had already been quiet, seemed to dissolve completely, leaving only the pure sensory experience of the moment. He did not take out his charcoal or vellum here. Some places, he understood, were not meant to be mapped, but simply to be experienced. This library of tides was a sanctuary, a place to simply be. He sat down on the cool, smooth floor of the cave, leaning his back against the wall, and closed his eyes. The gentle, pearlescent light from the kelp felt soft and soothing even through his closed eyelids. The complex, layered hum of the echoes washed over him, a soundless symphony of peace that resonated deep within his chest. A gentle vibration that felt like the isle itself was holding him in a comforting embrace. He stayed there for a long time, held in the cave's tranquil stillness, feeling no need to move, no desire to do anything but listen. The scent of the damp earth filled his senses, a smell of ancient, quiet life. The cool air was a balm on his skin. This place, he thought with a deep sense of gratitude, was the very heart of the isle's deep and resonant peace. It was a place where time itself seemed to slow down, where the past was not a memory to be recalled, but a gentle, humming presence to be felt, as real and as comforting as the ground beneath him. Chapter 4. A Shared Silence. As twilight began to settle its soft, dusky cloak over the isle, Lorien made his way toward the soft glow of the lighthouse. He followed the winding seam-stone path, and as the light of day faded, the fine golden tracery within the pale clay-like formations began to glow. They pulsed with a soft, warm light, releasing a gentle heat into the cooling air that felt wonderfully comforting on his skin. The air around the path was filled with the pleasant, delicate scent of sun-baked earth and honey, a fragrance that seemed to rise from the very ground he walked on. There he met Nora, the lighthouse keeper. She was standing in her garden, a space filled with plants whose leaves and blossoms shimmered with their own gentle internal light. She turned as he approached, her smile as warm and welcoming as the light from the seam stones. Her movements were slow and deliberate, filled with a deep, ingrained peacefulness that seemed to be a part of her very being. She was tending to a cluster of night blossoms, their petals a soft, creamy white that were unfurling in the growing dark, releasing a sweet, heady perfume into the air. "I thought you might enjoy some tea," she said, her voice soft and melodic, seeming to blend perfectly with the gentle hum of the aisle. She led him to a small wooden bench nestled amongst the glowing plants. The light from the flora cast soft, shifting patterns on the ground, creating a world of gentle, moving shadows and serene illumination. It felt like sitting inside a living lantern, a space of profound and beautiful calm. The constant, slow sweep of the lighthouse beam above them passed with a quiet, reassuring rhythm, a silent guardian watching over the tranquil sea. Nora returned with 2 steaming mugs, the earthenware warm and smooth in Lorian's hands. The tea is infused with the very night blossoms she had been tending, and its fragrance was wonderfully soothing, a sweet floral scent that seemed to invite relaxation. They sat together on the bench, sipping the warm, fragrant liquid, and for a long time they did not speak. There was no need for words. The silence between them was not empty or awkward, but was full and comfortable, a shared space of mutual understanding and peace. In that shared quiet, Lorian began to perceive a new echo, one that was steady and deeply content. It was Nora's own peace, a feeling that radiated from her as gently and as constantly as the warmth from the seam stones. It was an echo of her deep contentment with her simple, quiet life, a profound sense of belonging that was as steady and as reassuring as the rhythmic sweep of the light from the tower above. He could feel her connection to this place, a lifetime of tending the light and the soil, of listening to the tides and feeling the hum of the isle in her own heart. He felt his own sense of peace deepen in her presence, as if her tranquility was a tuning fork that brought his own into perfect harmony. He watched as the luminous spores began to be released from the ancient fungi at the edge of the garden. They drifted on the gentle currents of air, tiny shimmering motes of silvery blue light, moving with a slow, ethereal grace. Their collective glow added another layer to the garden's gentle magic, making the air itself seem to shimmer with a soft, dreamlike quality. The world felt profoundly safe, wrapped in layers of soft light and shared silence. Eventually, Nora spoke, her voice just above a whisper. "The isle is happy you're here," she said simply. "It enjoys having its stories listened to." Lorian looked at her, at her kind face, illuminated by the soft glow of the plants, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. He understood that she was not just the keeper of the lighthouse, but the guardian of the isle's quiet spirit. They were partners, she and this place, in a long and peaceful conversation. He took another slow sip of his tea, the warmth spreading through his chest, the sweet flavor a perfect complement to the moment. He watched the luminous spores dance their slow, silent ballet in the air and felt the steady, reassuring hum of Nora's contentment beside him. It was a simple moment, devoid of any great event, yet it felt profoundly meaningful. It was a moment of pure presence, of two people sharing a quiet appreciation for the deep, simple beauty of their world, a connection forged not through words, but through a mutual stillness of the soul. Chapter 5. The Map of Contentment. In the final days of his stay, Lorien worked in the warm, quiet space of his cottage. The gentle light of morning would filter through the small window, illuminating the fine particles of dust that danced in the air, each one a tiny golden spark. The room was filled with a comforting scent of willow charcoal and creamy vellum, and the only sounds were the soft crackle of the fire in the hearth and the distant, soothing shoosh of the sea. He worked slowly with a meditative focus, his hands moving with a practiced and gentle grace across the surfaces of his scrolls. He took all the tracings he had made, the swirling gray maps of the echoes he had found, and began the delicate process of joining them. There was the joyful looping echo from the whispering meadow, the deep, multi-layered lullaby from the Library of Tides, and the steady, warm hum of Nora's contentment from the lighthouse garden. He laid them out on the smooth wooden floor, their edges touching, and saw how they flowed into one another, how the different melodies of peace came together to form a single, harmonious composition. With the finest charcoal stick, he began to connect them, drawing the gentle, flowing lines that showed how the path of crushed seashells held its own quiet echo of countless peaceful journeys, and how the sign of the great tree connected to the rhythm of the waves. His work was not about geographical accuracy. It was an act of pure feeling, of illustrating the way all the separate notes of tranquility on the isle were part of one great silent song. The room felt full of a quiet, creative energy, a gentle focus that was both purposeful and deeply restful. When he was finished, he unrolled the final single scroll across the length of the floor. It was a complete map, not of the isle's physical form, but of its very soul. The swirling lines and soft, smudged shadows depicted the island's accumulated peace, its layers of gentle memories gathered over untold quiet years. It was a visual representation of serenity itself, a cartography of calm. Looking at it, he felt no surge of pride, no sense of artistic accomplishment. He felt only a deep and abiding sense of connection, a feeling of having become part of the very peace he had been mapping. He realized that the process of listening so intently to the isle's gentle echoes had changed him. The constant low hum of the place was no longer something he just perceived. It felt as though it was now inside him. The quiet joy of the children's laughter, the deep contentment of the sailor's sigh, the steady, serene peace of Nora's garden, they had all settled within him, becoming a part of his own inner landscape. He had come here to map the echoes, and in doing so, had found that the map was of himself as well. On his last evening, he sat with Nora by the shore, watching the luminous spores drift out over the calm, dark water. They did not speak of his departure. There was no need for goodbyes in a place where time felt so fluid. He showed her the finished map, unrolling it in the soft, glowing light of the seam stones. She looked at it for a long time, her expression one of gentle recognition. "Yes," she whispered, her voice full of warmth. "That is its true name." He left the map with her, a gift for the isles that had given him so much. As his small boat pulled away from the dock the next morning, he did not feel a sense of loss. He felt full, complete. The peace he had found, the gentle, humming warmth that now resided in his chest, was not something that could be left behind. It was a part of him now, a quiet inner stillness that he would carry with him wherever he went. The journey had ended, but its tranquility was just beginning. He looked back at the Isle of Murmuring Tides, its soft hills hazy in the morning mist, and he let out a long, slow breath. It felt like a soft exhalation of pure contentment, a quiet release that left him in a state of deep and profound calm. The gentle rocking of the boat was a familiar lullaby, and the quiet journey ahead felt not like an ending, but like a continuation of the beautiful, serene peace he had finally learned to hear.